types of neurons and their functions. So we have three types: the sensory neurons, relay neurons, and motor neurons. So the respective picture. Okay, if it is neuron X given, and that you identify, okay, look at the cell body which is at the side. So this one is significant, this one is definitely sensory neurons, exclusive untuk sensory neuron ini. Okay, if it is relay neurons, so this is how it looks like. Somewhat similar to motor neurons, but here if you look at motor neurons, you can check over here at the axon terminal, the synaptic knob. So it is next to the effector. Okay, because these motor neurons is carrying impulses, nerve impulse from the central nervous system to the effector. Okay, so please take note on the flow of impulse. Look at the arrows. So you can identify that this is the motor neurons. If you see that this is receptor, okay, and look at the flow of impulse, so that means it is carrying nerve impulse from the sensory organs ataupun receptor ini to the cell body, and then next to the axon terminal over here, and then might be to the next neurons ataupun sambung kepada relay neurons. Okay, so some bio insight over here. It says that neurons, they are the basic units of the nervous systems, where individual neurons vary in size. The smallest can be as tiny as 0.004 millimeter in diameter, and the longest neuron can be a single efferent neuron ataupun motor neuron ini that runs from the spine to the tip of the toe, which is more than a meter in length. Okay, and then nerve impulse can travels along the neuron in the form of electrical ataupun chemical signals, and they can travel as fast as 120 meters per second. So some bio insight for you. Okay, remember this picture? In the previous videos, we have come across this when we study spinal cord. So I just want you to take note on the location of these three types of neurons. Is sensory neuron. Okay, the function is to carry nerve impulses from the receptor to the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, from the receptor to the brain and the spinal cord. So that's why dia bermula daripada receptor di sini. Okay, sensory neuron. Okay, so picture here is that now this is sensory neuron. Okay, look at the arrow. So it is located. It is located here in the. This is the dorsal root. Okay, ini adalah dorsal root. Okay, whereas kalau relay neuron is like the intermediate, yang ini warna kuning ini, that's the relay neuron. The function is to carry nerve impulse from sensory neuron. So this is sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So it's like connecting sensory dengan motor neuron. Ada satu perantara, that's the relay neuron. So it's usually located in the brain and the spinal cord. So in other words, dia ni terletak pada central nervous system. Okay, for motor neuron, the function is to carry nerve impulses from the brain and spinal cord, maksudnya daripada CNS, central nervous system, to the effectors. Dia akan pergi kepada effectors. So examples of effectors are the muscles and the glands to carry out appropriate responses. So look here, this is motor neuron. Inilah dia. Okay, so it's now leaving the central nervous system, and then here dia terletak pada what do you call this? This is the ventral root, ventral root. Okay, then look at the arrow over here. leaving the spinal nerve. This is spinal nerve. Okay, let's look at one by one. First, we look at motor neuron. This is motor neuron, which you see that it can be found in the ventral root. Okay, ventral root of the spinal nerve. Okay, just now we already seen the picture. This is ventral root of the spinal nerve. Spinal nerve ini di sini ada dua, kita panggil the branch, the short branch. So it receives nerve impulses from the relay neuron. Di mana kedudukan relay neuron? It is at the central nervous system, and this motor neuron sends nerve impulses to the effector. Okay, send nerve impulses to the effector. So that's why dia punya axon terminal ini, next one is dia ni towards the effector. Okay, for example, muscles ataupun glands, those are the effectors, and to carry out appropriate response. And the cell body is present in the gray matter of the spinal cord. Ini adalah cell body. Di manakah kedudukan cell body itu? Dia berada di kawasan gray matter. You still remember gray matter? This is the one yang butterfly shape punya ni. So di mana dia punya cell body ada di sini, di gray matter of the spinal cord. Okay, next one is the sensory neuron. Okay, lihat sahaja sensory neuron. This is aliran impulse. So it is from the receptor. Jadi senang untuk kamu kenal. Okay, so it is present in the dorsal root of the spinal nerve. Ini dia dorsal root. This is it. This one. This entire thing here. Dorsal root. So it carries nerve impulse from the sensory organ receptors to the central nervous system. So therefore you can see dia punya anak panah ini. From sensory organs to the central nervous system. So the cell body is here. Okay, look at this. Dia punya cell body ini eksklusif berada di tepi. So this is exclusive for sensory neuron. Jadi kita senang kenal. So because the cell body is clustered at this region, that's why we get to see some like bulging area. Ni kita panggil dia sebagai ganglion. Dorsal root ganglion. Tempat di mana there's a lot of cell bodies clustered over there. Okay, so cell body is found in the dorsal root ganglion. Dendrites receive nerve impulses from receptors. Okay, inilah dendrite dia. Daripada receptor, diterima nerve impulses. And then it's going to send it to the cell body. Okay, cell body berada di sini. Okay, daripada dendrite. Daripada dendrite, dia jalan begini. Okay, going to the cell body first. And then subsequently to the axon terminal yang diakhiri dengan synaptic node. Okay, so nerve impulses are transferred from the cell body to the axon. Inilah axon itu. That's the extension ataupun this portion of the cell body. Okay. So axon melalui axon to the next neuron. Dia akan pergi kepada neuron seterusnya. Okay, relay neuron. Relay neuron ini seolah-olah dia adalah perantara ataupun it's like the intermediate. Okay, nerve fibers found in the central nervous system. Ini dia relay neuron. Found in the central nervous system. That means spinal cord dengan brain lah, where you get to find this relay neuron. Okay, so it connects the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So dia punya cell body ini can be found clustered in the gray matter of the central nervous system. Dekat sini, this is relay neuron. Menangkan dia berada di gray matter ini, so the cell body is also found here lah, in the gray matter area. So function is to send nerve impulses daripada from sensory neuron to central nervous system, and also from the central nervous system, leaving the central nervous system after the interpretation lah kan, integration, and then it's heading to the motor neuron. Inilah fungsi relay neuron itu.